Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Moss Pawn & Gun. Today we've got a top 10 video for you. I know you guys are used to seeing top 5, but I thought since we had Scott Moore with WAC Outdoors down here with us, we've been doing some filming here at the farm and everything, and I tell you what, Scott is an awesome guy. He's very knowledgeable on primitive weaponry, bushcraft, survival. We thought it would be fun to give you a top 10 survival tips video so that some of you guys looking to go into either equipment selection or thinking of certain areas that you're going to go and check out, you know, to be a little bit better prepared. But also, I want to make it clear that this video is not about equipment. We're not trying to tell you who makes the best knife. We're not trying to tell you, you know, what gear you should have, what gear you shouldn't have. These tips are intended to be very generic and allow them to be, you know, applied to any survival situation you get put in, no matter where that may be. And once the equipment matches the situation, and then you apply the techniques and increase your level of training proficiency, then there you go. So, right. Scott, what situation dictates a survival situation?
I think that first and foremost, the way to approach that is like, what is the definition of an emergency?
Okay.
An emergency is an unplanned event that requires immediate action.
Okay.
So I think it would be safe to say that a survival situation would fall under that heading of an event that was unplanned that requires immediate action. And the preparation beforehand with training and gear is what's going to make that event turn out for the better for the participants.
Or for the worse.
Or for the worse. And you said this would be a top 10 list, so I figured we just walk down the list and start with number 1.
All right.
And try to go in an order that people can build off of once they take a look at this.
Good deal.
And again, this, you know, you asked me what would be my top 10.
Sure.
And first and foremost, we live in a society that is so busy, and we have all been there. You have a weekend plan to go hiking or kayaking, and life's busy, and something comes up, and it's Friday night, and you're going to leave Saturday morning, and you're trying.
Rush.
The first thing I teach in my classes is the mountain will be there next weekend. Do not go unprepared. I mean, literally, if we take on the endeavor of going to the wilderness, there is peril, there is risk. The only safeguard against it is proper prior preparation, which prevents poor performance.
All the P's.
All the P's.
Well, an interesting part of that I want to add a little bit is one thing I learned from scuba diving is that when you are scuba diving, you are in a situation where everything around you is lethal. You are in a lethal world where outside of your little self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, you are not a part of their world. When you're in their world, you're in their world. You are a visitor in their world. Now, granted, we all share this world we live in, but likewise, if you're going out into the wilderness, well, that implies wild, which means you got animals, situations that you may not be accustomed to seeing. And remember, you are a visitor in their world. They live there. You're going in their home. So you always have to respect that. Treat it with a little respect.
So number 1, don't go unprepared.
All right.
Do your due diligence.
Perfect.
That leads to number 2, which is doing your homework. We live in a technological society, so we can avail ourselves of that technology. We have Google Earth. We have TerraServer. So before you go mountain climbing, backpacking, bicycling, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, anywhere you go, you can get online, you can get an aerial view of the area that you're going to be in. So number 2 is do your homework, take a look at all that, and that leads to number 3, don't rely on someone else. You know, if you go on a trip with a more experienced person, or if someone has invited you to go along, it's really easy to have that vacation mindset. We're just along for a ride, grab the water bottle, and hit the trail. The unexpected does happen. And I'll give you a real world scenario that anybody can relate to that's a hunter. We'll talk about a bear hunt up in Canada. We're busy, we booked a hunt with our buddies, we fly into Saskatchewan, we end up somewhere in the dark. A guide picks us up, we travel to our camp in the dark, we get in a boat, we're taken to our stand in the dark. It gets daylight, we're sitting over a bait, we're watching for bear. The guide says, meet me out on the shore at 3 o'clock. No guide. Didn't show back up. You see something in the lake, you get your binoculars, you take a look, and your guide is out in the lake, slumped over the motor, the outboard of that boat. He's had a physical calamity trying to start the motor. So now there you stand on the lake shore. And if you turn this way and go along the shore, there might be a fishing camp in 3 miles. If you go this way down the shore, it might be 80 miles of nothing.
Or a bear den.
Or a bear. So doing that due diligence, not depending on someone else, you taking a look at the maps and having a framework or a concept of orientation will get you out of a jam when no one else will. And that leads to number 3, which is the modern technology is great, but it can get us killed. We have a GPS on our phone. We have all kind of fancy electronics that we can take a casual walk in the woods and look at it, and it'll lead us right back to where we come from. But what if the battery goes dead or you drop it in the water?
Yeah, so embrace modern technology and enjoy it, but don't always rely on it. One thing that I'll add to both 2 and 3, because they are kind of intermingled there, is the fact that developing a plan is much more than just knowing a map and knowing a heading and knowing which direction you're going. If I'm going into a situation where I want to have a general idea of the topography and the features of the land I'm going into, that can provide me with a lot of valuable intelligence. From a military standpoint, intelligence is everything. Knowing the plateaus, knowing the high points, the low points, knowing potential floodplains, knowing where openings are, knowing where bodies of water are that are near your path of travel, those obviously being very important things. Knowing where water is extremely important. So yes, you know, the whole doing your homework part is just more than knowing where to park and which path to walk down to get
Correct.
there. It's knowing what is around you, being aware of your immediate surroundings, and if you need to access a certain landmark, where is it and what is it and how will it benefit you, and what resources do you need to get to it if there is an emergency and you need to get there.
Absolutely, and that really comes down to learning how to read a map and learning how to use a compass. Going to a local community college or a local hiking or backpacking club or organization and getting a little seminar, a little workshop you can attend.
Sure.
Spending an afternoon and $50 to just kind of get a basic understanding of a map and a compass is going to keep you in much better shape. That leads to number 4, which is what I call the 4D plan. That is the drop dead, do or die plan. That is, and again, this is all building on itself. Having looked at Google Earth, having had a framework, we need to determine before we go that if we go due west, there is a highway. If we go due south, there is a river. And if we go downstream, there is a fishing camp or a commercial rafting operation. You've got to get in your mind before you leave that if all else fails, you have a direction and a bearing that is going to walk you out of harm's way into safety.
And you know how to find that bearing.
Correct.
You know how to, you know, and you sometimes can't always rely on a compass. What if your compass breaks? What if something's going on? What if you bend the needle or it's broken or defective? Knowing how to read shadows, how to read the position of the sun, to know the direction the sun rises and sets. All of these things obviously are kind of part of a training regimen, which is not really what we're trying to cover in this video, but it's something you need to kind of keep in your mind, that
Right.
You should always be able to orient yourself with no tools. Use the tools you have, and yes, tools are handy, they're convenient, they give us an edge, but also know how to perform a lot of tasks without tools as well.
Absolutely, and what you said is very interesting. I'll give you a real world personal experience. Back in, I think, '94, I went on an elk and mule deer hunt in Colorado. And we flew into Grand Junction and got on the trailhead. We did a 9-mile forced march up the mountain. We spent a week in the boonies. And I don't know if it was the change in elevation, the change in pressure, whatever it was. When I was up on the mountain with my topo map, I had good references. I could stay oriented. Shot a little mule deer. I tracked him and got down in some oak brush that was so thick that overhead you lost your bearing of the horizon. So I pulled my compass out to get a bearing, and all the liquid had leaked out of the sealed chamber, and the needle was laying off to the side. So I did not have my compass. And typical standard military training is something that taught me, a hard lesson. You know, they say 2 is 1 and 1 is none. You need a backup for some things. Fire starter and compass are 2 things. I've got multiple resources, maybe a big one in my pack and a small one in my pocket. If I get separated from my pack, I still have the ability to build a fire and orient.
Smart.
Training trumps gear. The more you know, the less you need. I don't need to go into any more detail other than to tell you that your mind is the most powerful survival tool and the most effective survival tool that you have, and getting that training beforehand is going to do a lot to help you out. And the other thing that I see in the folks that I have guided into the wilderness, a good decision made late is a bad decision. And there is a methodology of decision making that has to be practiced based on the changing conditions. And I'll try to give you a scenario that'll relate well on video here. If we're going to go on a hike with a group of people and we go to a national park and we park at the trailhead in the parking lot and we're going to go to the top of the mountain, enjoy the vista, and come home. It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It gets dark at 7. We want to be back by 6:30 and give ourselves a half-hour buffer zone. So we've got 3.5 hours. Halfway up the mountain, there's a fork in the trail, and there's a wide loop and a straight up that's a harder climb. That wide loop takes an hour. So if we left at 3 and we want to be back at 6:30, we got 3.5 hours. The one loop's going to take an hour longer than the other. You got to do your math with your clock and decide what's the latest time in the day that you can make the decision to take that wide loop.
Yep.
And once that time frame has passed, that wide loop is no longer an option.
So it all comes down to planning and preparation and execution.
Absolutely.
It's really no different than the way the military looks at things. You have to understand the resources available to you, the time it's going to take to perform the given task, and to make sure that it's within the margin of safety that not only your group can handle, but you can handle. If you're going to take this on as, say, I don't know, you're head of your family, you're the dad in the family, and you got your kids, your wife, and maybe some, the kids bring along their friends, and you got 4 young people and your wife to contend with, and you're looked to be the person that's going to have the answers, you have to make sure that you are capable of doing that and capable of making on-the-feet decisions that can affect the entire group, and understanding what the group's capabilities are. You're only going to be as fast as your slowest person. So that's something that can take into consideration as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I talked about making good decisions at the proper time. In the outdoors, the weather is the biggest dictator of what the time frame is to make a decision.
So that's number 7,
yes.
Weather.
So number 7, I am recommending that you do what it takes to learn some of nature's weather forecasters. And we can't get into an in-depth discussion about that, but you can do your study at home. You can take a look online. You can kind of learn to identify some clouds and know what weather those clouds are predicting. Something real simple: when you build a fire and your smoke's hanging low in the valley, that's low pressure. When your smoke's going straight up, that's high pressure.
Yep.
High pressure signaling a clearing of good weather, and low pressure signaling, you might have some weather coming in to contend with. Just keep that in mind that, again, technology's great, but it's not always there.
Right.
Learn the good old-fashioned way to kind of predict the weather.
Well, good thing that I'll add to that, and this is just real easy, guys. Next time a storm's rolling in, if you've got a porch that's covered, walk out on the front porch and just observe what's happening as the storm comes through. Look at the way the wind blows. Look at the fact that the leaves kind of turn on the trees. And, you know, there's that old saying that if the leaves are turning up, it means it's about to rain. Well, it's an old saying, but pay attention to things that are happening around you when they do happen, and then you can kind of get some indications. If you're without a weather forecast on your phone, on your app, on your phone, then you can kind of get an idea like, hey, it's probably about to rain.
I'll give you an easy one. You wake up in the morning and you're walking in the grass and the dew is just thick on the grass and your pant legs and shoes are soaking wet. The moisture's already on the ground. It's probably not going to rain in the next couple hours. When you wake up in the morning and everything is dry as a bone, that means the moisture's still in the sky. That means it might come down later.
Good point.
Just simple stuff.
All right, so what's number 8?
Number 8. Okay, your kit, your survival kit. We're not going to get into detail about the kit. There's plenty of information about survival kits. And I don't want to, we'll give credit where credit's due. I guess the first time I heard it was David Canterbury talked about the 5 C's. And I don't know what the order is, but it's a cutting implement, cordage, a container, cover, and combustion.
Sure.
You know, that takes care of building the fire, boiling water, having some, this type of thing. You have to have all that together, but I referenced it earlier. If you have that all in a neat little pack, and that bag or pack is at the bottom of your backpack, and you get separated from your backpack, you're done. And it's not hard to have a little pocket knife, a little compass, a Bic lighter, a little fire starting tinder. You can take the basics of these and have them in your pocket.
Sure.
Or I like to hang them around my neck. I like to make a lanyard. I like to make a necklace that has a fire striker, a small compass, a signaling whistle, a fire starter that I just put around my neck. That way, because the trap we fall into, we're on vacation with our family, we see a roadside sign, sparkling falls are 200 yards off the road. So instead of grabbing our big pack and going, we're just going to run over there. Well, people get lost and never seen again 200 yards from the road every year. So you throw that necklace around your neck.
Something that goes in really strong with that talking point there is the fact that you know, make sure your kit is set up the way you want. Make sure you have a kit that's on your person, a kit that is in your bag, even a kit that's a backup in the car is a good idea. But regardless of what type of kit you have, know how to use it. That's the big thing, is the training disposition. I think that was number 4, one of them.
Correct.
But the thing is you can have all the expensive kit in the world, and it might be the most awesome, expensive, well put together, professional looking thing in the world. But if you don't know how to use it and you don't have the skills to back it up or the instinct to know when it may be needed, then you've already lost.
This is not necessarily in order, but it's important to mention, and I tell people this all the time. We think that, you know, we're men, we're macho, the testosterone is flowing, so when a crisis situation arises, we are going to rise to the occasion like a knight in shining armor. That is not going to happen. In a crutch situation, we're going to fall to a level that is slightly below our training and preparation. So the training and preparation is absolutely what it's all about.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Number 9, and we touched on it earlier, was stay oriented. You can stay oriented in relation to a mountaintop, a river, a road, something you can touch base with. By definition, if you're not oriented, you're disoriented, and that means lost. And I will tell you quickly, and the military has proven through studies years ago, it is impossible for a human being to walk in a straight line without assistance and staying oriented. Typically, a person walking through the woods, even with every attempt to just by dead reckoning walk in a straight line, for 3 miles walked forward, it is typical to drift 1 mile to the left or right. And typically a right-handed person is going to drift to the right. And a real life scenario we can all relate to: how many times have you parked your car, went in the woods hunting, fishing, you broke back out on the road, but you had no idea if your car was up the road or down the road? I mean, it sounds silly, but unless the terrain forced you in a particular direction, if you hit the road and you're not sure where the car is, if you're right-handed, head left, because you've probably drifted to the right.
I never knew that. That's excellent advice.
And stay on the trail and don't bushwhack. We see people all the time that get lost, and I want to qualify this. I'm not a member of Search and Rescue. I don't have any official qualifications, but I have led many groups through my camps that I run into the woods, and I have retrieved lost individuals off the trails a lot of times. And what I see play out in real time is people are deathly afraid of getting caught in the woods overnight because they don't have the training. So this get-home-itis is the disease that kills. Being lost will not kill you. Bad decisions will, and the bad decisions multiply very quickly. There's never typically one large event that puts you in a life-threatening situation. It's making a series of bad decisions that gets you just about irretrievable. So if you've hiked all day and you've never left the trail, what would possess someone to cross a stream and climb a mountain?
Agreed. So those are 10 excellent facts that I think really can help a lot of you that are wanting to get into the survival mindset. And even if you're just recreational, okay, you're Joe Blow American who just wants to go climb a hill, go out in the woods, enjoy a picnic. These are all things that can definitely help you. The only thing that I will add, you know, every top 10 or top 5 video has a wild card. So the one wild card talking point that I'm going to add to his list of 10 is never think you're more than what you are in terms of your level of disposition and training. Okay, understand where you are in your training regimen as a survivalist, as a you know, bushcraft guy, as a fisherman, as a hunter. Know where your training is and understand where your limits are. That is probably, in my opinion, one of the most important things to consider is, you know, don't go for a huge mountain if all you know is the hill level. So, you know, understand, right. You know, never push yourself further than your training can help you get out of safely. Now, I'm not saying, you know, don't try to take on bigger and better things, because obviously we by nature want to do that. We want to take on.
We want to meet the challenge.
We want to meet the challenge, but do it responsibly and train for it and give yourself the best chance to come out smelling like a rose.
Absolutely.
Scott, I really appreciate you taking the time to give us this spill here. You know, I hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video. You guys have got to check out WAC Outdoors. Go to YouTube here, check out his channel. Scott's got a bunch of great stuff on here, and we hope you enjoyed the video, learned something. We got much more content on the way, guys. More gun reviews, reloading, gunsmithing, more primitive weaponry, black powder stuff. Guys, we're always talking about all random kinds of stuff with guns, everything. So we appreciate the support. We'll catch you next time.